Last night I had a very interesting short conversation with a commenter on my last video. It was, yeah, all I can say is it was interesting. I'm not gonna go into detail as to what it was about, as you can just go look at the comments section of the "So Life is Pointless, so what? Being peaceful is far more dangerous" video. You can see for yourself. But, well, I'll just say, I was sarcastic in the conversation at first, and then I tried apologizing because I thought I misinterpreted something. Thought there might have been a mistranslation, but apparently there wasn't, and I somewhat went back to... Whoa. I half went back to responding sarcastically, and then, well, conversation just seemed to trail off. I took a look at the channel that left the comment, and there could be some specific reasons as to why they did so. that I could probably conclude. The comment wasn't anything horrendous at all. It's just, it was, well, it was intriguingly stupid, is all I'll say. And, well, the reason I responded as I did is because, well, at this point in my channel's history, and also on my Pornhub channel as of right now, well, there have been many just one-off comments that make, as is usual with smaller creators, smaller content creators that don't have as large a platform, well, are either purposely antagonizing or just make absolutely no sense. And, you know, considering I very much would like more actual dialogue to be had between me and anyone who's a viewer. And on that note, you know, more intelligent, meaningful dialogue of any kind, really. Well, yeah, I just was a little peeved, so I decided to respond back as I did, and I don't, as of right now, considering their explanation was very nonsensical. Well, I don't regret it as of right now. But anyway, it's just more and more that happens now. I'm just gonna, I think I'm just gonna I'll start initiating engagement with the very stupidly absurd comments that I receive both here and on Pornhub, and on Quora, if I get any, or anywhere else, or whatever social media platforms I have. Just basically to get a little more insight into it and just to see where it goes. But anyway, so where are we off to today? Well, heading into, or for myself I should say, more so back to the western portion of this. And more specifically, into the districts of Charny and Saint Rédempteur I, Charny et Saint Rédempteur. Mainly because, well, I haven't been back to either of the districts for nearly 2 months, because that's where, well, Saint Rédempteur is where I was initially in the city upon first arrival. So I wanted to do a bit more explorations than I had done whilst I was down there, and the same goes for Charny. But also because, to get into very much pleasant news that I have. So, all going well. Tomorrow is going to be my last day in the city of Lévis for the duration of winter, for 6 months. Now, for those of you who have been following my traveling, you might be asking, well, wait, Cam, I thought you said you were going to try and reach Lévis, Quebec for the entire duration of winter. That's where you were planning on settling in for the winter months. And yes, you'd be right. Well, that was my initial plan, as well. Improvisation is just a key factor of life, as far as I'm concerned. Situationally. Hold on a second. Well, since being at the independently operated homeless shelter that I've been at now for 2 weeks, considering my job/housing search here in the city has not gone so well since leaving the small business hotel that I discussed details about in part 3 of this series. Well, it's clear that for getting inside for the dangerously cold weather in terms of housing, along with that, employment of some kind, or just simply in exchange for housing. Well, here in Laval, Lévis, maybe it's just the area I'm in right now that caused that bit of semantic neural misattribution. It's not going to work out here. At least in every place that I have searched at in the city, I've wound up with no leads. needs. Now, as I mentioned in part 3 towards the end, when I went back to the shelter that's here in the district I'm in now of New Liverpool, towards the southeast end of it, how it typically operates is that the residents can stay for a week for free the first time in a month that they come. And if they want to stay longer, they have to pay $25 a night. 3 months later, if you come back from your initial stay, you can stay another week for free. But how they operate, they are very flexible with, well, operations of the place and those who are able to take up residence. But so they extended my stay for another week because, with the help of social workers there, to make further details just shorten them a bit, we were able to find a position for me working as a general maintenance worker of sorts, with housing provided on a family-owned farm, a dairy farm, in the rural areas, in the rural countryside, south of Lévis, about maybe an hour to an hour and a half south of the city. That's on the outskirts of a village called Saint Paul de Montmagny, au Sapon de Montmagny. Which is close by to the Canadian-American international border. More specifically, a portion of Quebec, the province of Quebec, bordering the American state of Maine. So, I contacted one of the owners first, tried speaking to them, but so they speak a bit of English, but obviously their first language is Québécois French, and told me they weren't as strong in their skills of communication, say over the phone. It would be better in person, face to face, for communication. So I sent them, they told me to send them an email instead, which I did. I wrote in standardized Canadian English and then I translated it quickly because I had to wrap it up quick for writing it. I wasn't able to translate it into Québécois French, so I translated into Franco-French quickly, which, despite certain possible inaccurate translations, overall they seem to have read it, from what I can tell now, they got the email well enough, but so after that initial contact, a couple days later or so, me and one of the social workers at this shelter, who I'm incredibly thankful for, they contacted with me initially, but they ended up taking the lead because of the language barrier. We contacted the owner, one of the owners again, to try and hopefully finalize, well, the decision and see what they thought. And according to them, they were a little uncertain at first from the message I had sent, whether they wanted to hire me on or not. But after said social worker smoothing things over and clarifying certain things, which it seemed more just out of, again, misunderstanding for the translation. I should have, well, anyway. Clearing things up and deciding, okay, well, we'll arrange things, give us about a week, and we'll get things organized for me to come and work there for the winter. And coincidentally enough, this coming Monday, tomorrow, one of the owners has to come into Lévis for some errands. And he's going to come pick me up and take me to their dairy farm to work. And now they seem more, it seems that they were more eager to have me come on now. So, as of right now, that's the alteration in plans. I'll be leaving the city for 6 months, going south of it to that farm to live and work on. And I can discuss a bit more about it later in the video. But for now, let's just get moving into first Charny, and then showcase the suspension bridge that initially was keeping me and Cardi B from crossing over into the more central areas of the city by foot. Right. Welcome to Charny. So the Charny district, similarly to the neighborhood of Old Town Lévis in Desjardins, is a very old, more, I guess it technically could count as historical portion of the city, and is very, very much impoverished overall. With first time me being down. Sorry, muddled my words there. In this subdivision, well, yeah, already noticeable division methods. But from researching further the history of the municipality, Charny, I believe, was initially a separate town. Well, it was an initial settlement by itself, not being developed as the original settlement of Lévis, now Old Town, as it began to urbanize and expand. And along with that, as I'm sure you could tell from not the previous footage, there is, in terms of the housing structures, still many that resemble more older Canadian farmhouses in terms of structure. Because at one point there were many in this area a while back. Now, well, the central area here that's coming up a short ways is, to some degree, it seems, promoted in the city's tourism industry, but not near as much, obviously, as the Desjardins district and Saint Rédempteur for the well, I haven't talked about them. I haven't talked about it much. I actually don't think I've talked about it really almost at all in this series. The only time I really mentioned the site was in my Made It to Lévis video. That district mainly being promoted by tourism agencies for the Chidori Falls. Shidai Falls. Which was human-made, very clearly construction of the falls themselves in terms of water runoff for the Charny River, which is the body of Desolé, I guess. It's the main body of water that divides the western half of the city from, well, the rest of its municipal body. Yeah, I'll continue down here. But, well, and it's also not as promoted, say, as the downtown area, which sees more visitors, well, on a constant, which, again, most of those visitors, in terms of international tourism, are coming over from Quebec City out of an amount of curiosity to venture into the neighboring city to it. And domestically, pretty much the same, at least from out of province. In terms of those coming in to the city, I guess, for day trips, well, you can thank most of the surrounding rural residents in the immediate countryside for that. But so, yeah. However, when I made my way down through here on both my first and second day of being in the city, after having been taken down to the hospital in Desjardins, well, I was very intrigued by this area as, oh, wait a minute. Oh well, I'll swing back around. As there seemed to be much lesser amount of mega corporate gentrification to the area, other than the cluster of corporate branches down by the main highway entrance to the district, as you may have seen earlier. And so far, other than typical complaints of mine, it's very well, quiet, at least today, and very, well, I definitely could say rustic would be a good way to describe the area, at least from my opinion, but not in the sense of the very saddening and obvious crumbling infrastructure. Yeah, I'll turn back around here. It's just gonna loop me around to where I was before when the Via Real came screeching through. really is a very quiet area. I guess less, again, because of what I mentioned earlier, less bustling overall. Even when I was here before, it was much the same. And interestingly enough, along this main road here, another one of these. I'm thinking from in all the parts of the city that I've encountered these mirror dishes being placed by the sides of street corners, thinking it might be for like something like this, for if vehicles are backing out, or maybe act as a better method of seeing. Well, I guess here oncoming traffic going, well, southbound, but okay, well, actually that doesn't make much sense, at least for the placement of this one, because why? I'd think the blind spot would be here from anyone's mirrors, or just general vision if they're backing out of here, which also doesn't really make much sense either, considering there's quite a bit of room, I'd think, for you to turn your vehicle around and park it forward. But anyway, if that was the logic behind placing one of these dishes here, wouldn't you place it on this side so that you could see traffic that's oncoming from, behind the view of the wall? I don't know. It would make sense for that, at the very least, for vehicle vision. Obviously, one being placed in the spots on roads that, or beside roads that that I've seen them as well. From my knowledge, at least, from what I've seen them used, how those have been used indoors, everywhere else I've been in Canada and in the United States. I live there, and just from what I've seen of them being used, from footage that showed them in other countries around the world, indoors, those are usually placed opposite to a security camera, so that, well, the camera can actually see in a blind spot. So they placed the camera lens they place it in a corner, and then they place one of those in an opposite corner somewhat, so that it can see, it can reflect back into the camera any blind spots. But, well, I don't know. Here is the central portion of the district, and if I'm remembering correctly, so this is the public library now, but I believe it used to be a train station for a passenger transit via train, but, well, now it's been converted. Now, for passenger transport, well, Via Rail has sadly taken up responsibility of that. Actually, well, For the longest while they might have, and it seems okay. Track. Or Traqua. Not sure how you pronounce it. Oh, hi! You're flying awfully low. Wow. You stuck that landing perfectly, and you glided very great. Okay. Goodbye then. That was nice. Anyway, I'm guessing in pair deal with Via Rail track this company is, and most likely for at the very least this region they laid all the rail tracks down and built those. But this, yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. It's just a very old portion of the district and central area. It's just very, very quaint to me, this portion. Very. Well, oh, and this church here, as well as this, I think this is a new addition, this building to the side. Furthermore, newer at least, is a community center for the city. Alright, enough dilly-dallying, let's get to Treasury Falls Park. Okay, scratch some of that last bit of commentary. I think I might have been wrong. I think the church still is in operation as a church to some degree or another, but has, well, obviously affiliation to the community center right beside it. So, but I think they still may hold, from some information I was just looking at on the premises right now, I think they may still hold masses of worship. Not entirely sure. And then I believe this is a Catholic school over here. Interesting thing actually I should bring up. Speaking of, well, schools. I recently just found out that the Quebec provincial educational system is actually somewhat different in terms of levels of, well, grades for, well, systemically regulated education for the youth. Education. But apparently it's not the same as the other provinces of Canada, as well as, I believe to one degree or another, the territories, which are for the most part similar to all the other provinces, at least what is regulated on a territorial level. I'll have to look at again how much influence federally there is over the territories for systemic education. But apparently, here in Quebec, there's apparently a separate schooling institution level of grade from the rest of Canada that's called CEGEP. Oh, CEGEP. And it... my God. They really are everywhere. It's not the same as what was previously enforced in the grading structure. What was set up for levels of systemic education for the rest of the country a couple decades back, grade 13 or 13th grade, which has been dropped all but in British Columbia, and that's predominantly for private schools. But here in Quebec, CEGEP is apparently an amalgamation of what would be for the other provinces 12th grade and formerly 13th grade, as well as an extra year, so I guess if there was, well, it could be counted as such, grade 14 or 14th grade. But so basically, how the educational system in terms of just entry levels and the structure of said levels itself goes, well, you have primary school, so elementary school, going from junior kindergarten to 6th grade. Then you have, well, the middle school, so public middle school, 7th grade to 8th grade. And then you'd have secondary school, high school, going from here 9th grade to 11th grade, and then you have SIGEP, which would be for the rest of the country, 12th grade, and then the other 2 years. And then you would have post-secondary, college and university. And apparently, SIGEP is mandatory to attend for applying, trying to enroll to post-secondary schools. It's a mandatory level of integrated education. When I first saw a educational facility titled SIGEP when I was in Montreal. I actually slept on their campus grounds for my first week in Montreal, specifically in the Montreal Nord district. And from what I had researched before and seen, didn't have my facts correct. I had thought it was Quebec's version of community college, similar to, again, other parts of Canada. But no, it's completely separate and not part of post-secondary systemic education, but is its own separate thing. So it's very interesting, and most of the social workers at the shelter I've been at for the past 2 weeks are currently in SIGEP in their in their second years. I asked if it was somewhat based off of the Western European model of education, more specifically French level structuring of grades, not in terms of typical piss poor content that is taught, but in terms of the actual entry structuring and exit. And they weren't sure, so I'm gonna have to do some more research on that because I'm curious about it. This is another incredible view. Well, for the most part, to some degree, at least in my opinion. But here we are, the Charny half of Chideri Falls Park. So, on my second day here in the city, trying to make it back to where I had left Cardi B in Chideri Falls Park on the Saint Rédempteur side, well, go into detail about this at another time. I didn't make it back before dark, and I wasn't going to walk through the woodland patch here to the suspension connecting bridge at night. So I tried and overall failed to get some sleep in this bush right here, which I ended up getting far too cold, and I tried going further into the suburban areas of Charny to see if there was a bank branch of any kind that had an ATM terminal that I could slip into for the night, but there wasn't. So I ended up sleeping on the porch of a bar that you will have seen the footage back a ways, called Papazula, and that was the day before Canadian Thanksgiving. So thankfully, well, not thankfully for getting inside, but for sleeping on the porch with no hassle from anyone, well, I just didn't have to deal with that potentiality anyway, because, well, most establishments were closed. So, yeah. And here is, well, sight to behold. Very much so.
Ah. I can't say that wasn't at least somewhat excruciatingly terrifying. Alright. Okay. Okay, so I was going to see if that person down there needed a hand bringing their bicycle down, but they've got it. At least they didn't fall whilst bringing it down. This was if I decided to bring Cardi B and myself down here in, well, mid-autumn with all the wet leaves. This would have been the first hurdle to tackle. Then, as you will have seen, the second hurdle would have been the suspension bridge, which is, though the suspending wires seemed sturdy enough, you could tell, well, the swaying was making me nervous. The swaying was making me nervous. And with the weight of Cardi B, and potentially everyone else on there, that didn't seem like a smart idea. And then after that would have been the much steeper than this here wooden ramp. So, I think it was ultimately a wise decision to call a towing company. Similarly to in Old Town Lévis as well, by the port, there's the wooden staircase structures here as well throughout the woods. Like the main staircase from the top of the hill crest, the main top of the hill crest of Old Town Lévis by the cliffside. Now, made me think about, I'd commented in part 1 on broken up stair structures by the port as well. That was by a road curve. That was incredibly steep. I had thought that the stair structures were really pointless to be placed there, considering how steep it was and the fact that there was a less inclined route uphill, that being the roadway that was to its side than that, so the stairs seemed unnecessary and a waste of wood. Now, looking at this, and now realizing the wintertime, well, with winter conditions, I'm starting to see it might have made a bit more sense to put, or an attempt at putting, stairs in at that path. However, from how it was constructed, I still think it was rather stupidly built, at the very least. Maybe not pointless, but if they wanted to construct a staircase to safely get individuals up that steep slope, as it was very, very steep, I'm fairly certain they could have laid down more platforms and connected them. At the very least, laid down connecting points for those staircases, because, well, it does pretty well defeat the purpose if you're trying to do that, as you still have it where it breaks off. Again, go watch part 1 to understand what I'm talking about here. Where the platforms stop, you still have a steep slope, a good chunk of the steep slope, where you, in freezing weather with slicked over concrete and gravel from sheets of ice, you'd easily slip on. Very easily. And again, if that was also designed for those with physical disabilities, especially in terms of mobility issues, again, it really defeats the purpose. If it's broken up like that, all it would make for is just a quick place to rest and then continue down the incredibly steep, slippery hill and go falling on your ass and breaking your neck. You'd probably be, again, a lot safer just going down the side road ramp. But, well, anyway, looking at this area, it just makes a bit more sense, the thought process behind it, to some degree at least, even if it was just, again, for public incentivization. But, oh, you get the point. So where I stayed for the first 5 days of me being here was right over there by the patch of woods. About right there, right at the edge. And during those days I tried airing out most of my belongings that had been on and off, drenched from rain, especially from rainfall that me and Cardi had experienced in Saint Rédempteur, which half worked, only half. And here, so this is the Chideri River. This portion, well, this blockade to stop guess. Excess flow of water that was needed for, I guess, this water power station. And, well, furthermore of the facility down a ways here. Well, it created the falls here, the flow of water. And from the looks of it, at the very least from the rock formations along here, I'm assuming that this at some point was before, well, before colonialist settlement. I'm assuming that it was all submerged underwater. So the geological formation doesn't match, cutting off like right there. If you look at the sediment up top, it's different formation. Looks like it's been eroded a bit more. Given the size of the river over here, the height of it, well, what appears to be some amount of its depth. This all just appears to have at some point been submerged. This is a beautiful pattern. This red coloration here on the rocks, I think it might be clay, if I'm not mistaken. You can also see it down at the cliffs of the Old Town Port as well, within the sediment. Very pretty. So now we're in the district of Saint Rédempteur, which, unlike Charny, is one of the newer additions to the conglomerate in terms of urbanized areas of Lévis. For the time that I was here initially, I was only in the northern half of it. I hadn't ventured to this part. So just want to quickly take a look-see through the central area of it, because I have to get back to the shelter soon. So far, in terms of housing units, it's looking to be more of, and also from what I could tell on maps, we're all more standardized middle class in terms of inhabitants and, well, their financial statuses overall. I believe it's also technically the second smallest district of the city, if I'm not wrong, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Okay, there's another bridge here. I wonder if I can get over to the other side of, well, if I can get beyond a ways in the district by diverting down one of these subdivision roads. Let's find out. Well, apparently there wasn't a way for me to bypass the bridge. Only way to actually get to the southern portion of the district. So, in fact, actually, reminds me, yes, in regards to the suspension bridge, as I've talked about in videos before, it is the only way by foot or by cycling, bicycle, or any small off-road vehicle of any kind that's, well, wide enough to, that's not too wide so that it can fit onto the actual connecting bridge. Well, it is the only way to get from this entire half of the city of Lévis to any other portion of it, the central areas and the eastern half. It's the only way. The only way, or I guess I should further clarify, it's the only way that you can get from this end of the city to the rest of it within the city limits. within its municipal borders. Other than that, because when I was initially staying in Schutzstelle Chideri Park, Schutzstelle Chideri, Park Schutzstelle Chideri, I scoured Google Maps, trying desperately to find another route to the central area of the city from the western half, specifically here in Saint Rédempteur. I scoured it, and I could not, for the life of me, find anywhere else by foot that you could walk across that connected to it. And something that I haven't pointed out in the other parts of this series as of yet, I'll do so here. Lévis, because of its more hilly terrain, which I've been slowly getting accustomed to, but on my own, when I'm not dragging Cardi behind me, it's very hilly. Its geographical setting is on a lot of very hilly terrain. Okay, I'll go one more street over and then try and cross into the subdivisions down here. And much of the separate districts, most of the districts in the city are connected in terms of both vehicle transport and walking by bridges. They're connected. Oh my god. Okay. Well, those two could have gotten into something really bad there if the car behind didn't slow down. Okay, good thing they didn't. Anyway, they're connected via bridges of some kind at the very least, and some of them not very long bridges, but a bridge structure nonetheless, in order to, well, have easy transport and access to the other areas within the municipality from each one. And but all of them, other than a highway bridge, the Trans-Canada Highway connection route, which is the only route via vehicle that, I'll go here, that you can cross over
from here to the central area, well, it has no walking path, not even hooked up beside it. On, say, a separate, smaller bridge. None have been constructed as of yet. And as far as I can find, well, the municipal government and lobbyists, private landowners of specific areas, key areas along the Chiduri River on both sides, well, they don't seem to have any intention anytime soon of developing any sort of any other bridge systems. Seem perfectly content with leaving the thin suspension bridge over Chutes Chidori as the only means by foot to get across the river. If you wanted to walk across a wider bridge that was constructed of, well, of stronger material, that a bridge that is built on pillars, that isn't a suspension bridge in terms of modern road design made of concrete, sadly. Nonetheless, if you want to do that, there are those that go across the Chiduri River, but the closest one to Lévis is south of the city, all the way in a town called Saint Lambert de Lauzon, or Saint Lambert de Lauzon. It's the only one that's within relatively close proximity to the city. The only one. And that the bridge is built for both vehicles and people to walk across. And in that regard, for anyone who only owns small vehicles, say motorized scooters, or smaller motorbikes, things of the sort, well, again, I don't even think in that regard, I'm sure there are people who do so in the warmer seasons, as police do not patrol the woods very frequently, at least from what I know, in the park. But, well, in terms of a legal sense, there is no, again, vehicle access for those small vehicles across to the central area. You would have to drive all the way out to Saint Lambert de Lauzon to cross over the river and then drive all the way back north to the city.
So, yeah, that is beyond infuriating and idiotic. Especially because the western half, it's not like the western half of Lévis is small. For the city size, at least, it's not. It has 2 districts, those being Saint Lam... Oh, not... More misattribution. Saint Rédempteur and Villiers, I believe, is the other one that's just north of here. That's right by the main connecting bridge across the St. Lawrence River to Quebec City. In fact, well, I believe the half of the bridge that's in Lévis is in that district. But they're well enough sized districts with an abundance of residents, and, well, again, I'm not, as usual, same statement, I'm not for governmental regulation and private regulation for construction of control of construction of, say, a project as such to build a connection route across the river. But regardless, if you want to, similar to complaints I had about the municipal healthcare system of the city of Laval, Quebec, if you want to claim that you care about your residents and you do whatever specific things to provide, let's go with a governmental system, public transport, accessibility for travel, well, you're liars if you don't see how something like that is a major problem extensively, without a doubt. let's take a look and see if my spidey senses are tingling. Mm-hmm. Okay, it doesn't appear to be to the extent of ultra wealthy, for the most part, but at the very least a high cluster of overall upper middle class status. You ain't done nothing if you ain't been called red. Da 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 da. I don't know the lyrics to the song off by heart just yet. Oh, Jesus, really? Really? That's ridiculous. Okay. Now, we're getting into ultra-rich territory. Why am I not surprised that it's situated right beside the upper middle class? Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say right now. Well, at the very least, I haven't seen any metal fence, bars on top of roofs right now. Or yet. But, well, given the locale, that's probably gonna change rather quickly, I'd assume. And correctamundo I was. Literally just 5 houses down or so from the last clip. Astonishing. I mean it every time. I've said this before when I've been in elitist neighborhoods. It really never fails to give me a sense of eeriness, of real eerie, performative, disorderly fakeness. It really never fails. Oh, and another modernized Japanese-style architectured house in a rich area. This also, of course. It really is interesting. North American elites really do take a liking to that design. At the very least, elitist housing contracting developers do. Well, they also make up the residents of these areas, but, well, either way. This one, yeah, even incorporates some of the style, which I don't doubt, to some degree or another, is only favorable in terms of the Japanese style architecture, because of a major amount of cultural appropriation, not actual, appreciating adoption of aesthetic and design. I don't doubt that either. Oh yes, wow. This is really, okay, if you live in the Viz and you know the district of Saint Rédempteur, And mind you, this is literally this is my first time truly really roaming through it to a large extent. This is really tucked back. This whole area, this whole neighborhood is tucked far, far back to the eastern half of Saint Rédempteur from the main road that I came through from, that I came into here by. Like, this is, like, look right behind there. It's the forest edge. Like, this is literally the edge, not just of the district, of the eastern half of the city. Beyond there, it goes out into the countryside. It's tucked really, really far back, right to the edge, with a school. I don't know if it's public or private, but it's a school with a portion of forest that's clearly dividing it from the more seemingly predominantly standardized middle class subdivisions. And thus going, if we go even further, say out to, you know, the Charny district, which is predominantly very much impoverished. Well, it's not a coincidence. Not at all. It's purposeful. Much is clear. And you might be thinking, well, okay, specifically for this area of the district cam, well, if you look on the map, that school is right in the center of the southeastern portion of Saint Rédempteur. You might be thinking, well, Cam, they maybe thought, the land developers thought that it was the most convenient place for students of all financial backgrounds to have easy access, or it wouldn't be as extensive a length to go if they had built it right there. No. Okay. On satellite images, I looked at this area, which I had a feeling somewhat that there was going to be an amount of wealthier subdivisions down a ways. I was not expecting, however, to be to this extent at all. Oh, grrr, I say. I wasn't expecting it to be this much. I was expecting maybe, at the most, like by the school, maybe just more upper middle class. Maybe. But no. No, not in the slightest. Okay, I looked at satellite imaging of the area. If you had taken, right now I'm in the eastern end, but I'm in more of the center of the eastern end. If you had rearranged the map, if you take slices of the area out with the building developments that are already here, all of this, specifically the mansions, the mini mansions, and the school. If you take this area, you place it where the school is, and then you move the school to here, it's practically the same amount of distance. It's barely any. if you take the school and place it here, in terms if it was developed here and all this, or housing units to fill up the radius of this whole area, it doesn't matter, okay, it doesn't matter if they're extensively prestigious or crumbling to bits because of lack of maintenance. It doesn't matter if you just take the amount of houses that are here to make up these subdivisions, you put it where the school is, it's, in terms of so-called claims, oh, it's easier accessibility, it's like 2 blocks further distance. It's 2 blocks away. More. It's nothing. It's nothing. I refuse to believe that even an indoctrinated land development planner of some maybe lower level in a corporate position of a development company, or for selling in a real estate corporation for selling off the land to developers, I refuse to believe it, that even they were that, well, all of them are stupid, that oblivious. I really refuse to believe that. It's intentional. It was intentional. It's so clearly intentional. Oh boy. So a bit of a correction, because I just looked at maps again for where I was standing in the last clip. So that wasn't the central eastern portion, it was more the northeastern portion of this half of the district. But either way, right behind there, to the southeast, right behind this neighborhood, right where I was showcasing where the forest was, where it goes off into is what would be considered the outskirts of the city going into the rural areas. Angry, angry, angry. Well, that one's white. That's a different coloration than what I've predominantly seen of the black metal fence bars on roofs. Why? God, did I find an area where the houses have gotten bigger somehow? God, it's like whenever I go to these places, it's like an ever-expanding labyrinth of atrocity and performativism. I'm not even gonna zoom in on that one, you know what it is. God, it's just getting worse. Like, the further and further I go, I'm actually trying to head out of this area right now. I've gotten myself lost again. I'm trying to walk out. I'm trying to get through the subdivisions, the roads that will take me out of this shitty place. Oh my God. Yeah, they are getting bigger. These ones aren't. The ones over here got bigger than even down there, I swear. Oh, where did I go? Okay, yes, okay, this is the right way. God, it loops around. This road doesn't connect to the one I was at back there. I thought for a second, okay, am I turning myself around? Did I look at the wrong street? Well, this is pretty. one pretty thing, and it's not, doesn't have to do with the area specifically, the one bit of natural element to it, the leaves falling. I can hear church bells in the distance. If that's symbolic of something, I don't know what it would be. God, it's like, okay, I know this place, most of these places, in all the cities I've been to so far, where I've actively started keeping tabs on pseudo-segregation, it's like most of them are not big. It's not like a large, expansive area in terms of how many extensively wealthy homes are placed in the neighborhood itself. It's not like, this isn't like some ginormous area. Like I said, if you cut out on a map where the school is, place it where goes at the far edge of the eastern half of this portion of the district, right up towards the outskirts, having it touch the edge of the municipal border, like I said, it would be only maybe a 2-block or so, or maybe 3-block more difference from where it is now if there were housing units where the school is, to get to the school if it was over there from there. So it's not gigantic, but I know, for me anyway, I know why it feels gigantic, because the homes are gigantic. They're ginormous. They're unnecessarily large. Like, they're stupidly humongous. And as well as specifically for this area, and as is common, but honestly not as much, I think, well, to some degree, in terms of zigzagging roads, as I've seen here. Well, it's because, for here anyway, it's that as well. They tuck it away, and they make these complicated, unnecessary diversions in the roads because of the placement, the purposeful placement of the housing units. These idiotic twists and turns, so that purposely people don't come down here from lower classes, or, as I've seen around here, non-white ethnic groups that inhabit other portions of the city, the lower class portions, predominantly. And also demographics of non-cis normativity in terms of gender expression, and all the rest, as I've said before. Oh, am I out? No. Okay, do I turn up? Hold on. This is the northernmost portion of this neighborhood, so I think, as I'm seeing on maps, that a road here in the northern point will take me back across hydro field, the electrical towers, and over to the main roadway, I think. And I guess another somewhat telling sign. Okay, am I on the right track? That one doesn't turn. No, it is this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. Okay, maybe another telling sign is the fact that the houses are shrinking. Despite the excessive, obnoxious ornaments. I'm not sure. You go first. Yeah, I think I'm on the right path now. Apparently I took another wrong turn. I literally just had a moment of complete confusion. Okay, I came out on Rue de Jolly from apparently Rue Villeux. I thought I had gone straight down the road I had come off of to get to where I turned before. I thought I had gone farther than I did from looking at the maps. And I didn't think I thought I was close to it, but I wasn't on any of the roads that connected to Rue de Jolly. Apparently I am. And apparently I, somewhere down a ways over here, got to the opposite end of the school somehow. See, that's what I'm saying. It's so moronically designed and nonsensical that unless you live in the area, and also I think even if you were getting accustomed to moving into here, you'd get lost pretty easily. I think I'm gonna come out to the school. I have absolutely no idea. And I saw this on the map. Rue de Bourgeoisie. Translating into English, roughly, Road of Bourgeoisie. Yeah, not even trying to hide it. That's correct. Are you for real? Are you serious? A cul-de-sac. I thought Rue de Jolly came out to the street that the school was on. Oh, is this it? Okay, maybe it is. Okay, then that... Okay. Then my sense of the layout is completely screwed up. My directional senses have been completely disrupted. Thanks for screwing with my parietal lobe, Ultra Rich. Okay, is it? Yep, it's a school. There. Okay, so I was on the opposite side of it. Okay, yeah, screw trying to get back to the main road from the northern half of this neighborhood. I'm taking the road that I came into the area on. Fuck this. Oh wow, would you look at that? right where I came in. It all comes full circle. Well, I should have taken that as a warning sign. Some mystic premonition of the universe giving me a message to turn back. Just don't even attempt it. Yeah, you're gonna make yourself mad. Just turn back where you can. I didn't even see the road sign there. I knew that this was Jaquez, I believe this road is pronounced. I knew that this was that road. But, oh, whatever. I'm gonna stop talking right now. Yes, okay. Here we go. Never thought I'd be happier to see a poorly placed hydro tower in the middle of a suburban area in my life, which, all things considered, I'm still not happy to see. Well, as I said, there's no other way by foot across to the other half of the city. So, yeah, yes, I'm walking through the woods to the bridge. It's getting dark. From what I saw last time, there is no lighting system along the trail. Good thing I have my phone, which has a flashlight, but, well, I'm trying to charge it as I'm filming this with my portable charger, so let's hope it doesn't die whilst I'm walking through there. Nice. For any of you wondering, for my Made It to Lévis video, when I talked about how I was bitten by a snake over in this park, this is right where it was. The snake was just slithering along here. Oh yes, and I don't believe I mentioned, if anyone's curious as to what specific species of snake bit me, it was apparently a Decky's brown snake, which are non-venomous. And I found that out from, well, self-research immediately once I was released from the emergency room at the hospital within approximately 4 minutes of having arrived there. So I just quickly tried. I knew the coloration of the snake, so I just tried typing that in snakes that were indigenous to this region of Canada, and found one that matched. So it was a Decky's brown snake. Oh, and the playground where I filmed a good portion of that video. Yeah, this is all ice along here. This patch is dry, thankfully. But, yeah. I'm going to be treading very, very lightly through here. Here we go. didn't slip and crack my skull. So, quite the unexpected adventure today. Oh, actually, I think that kind of describes most of my daily activities, for the most part, especially in these exploration videos. So, guess I should further discuss, before ending this video, a few more details about me leaving the city and heading south to work and live on the dairy farm. Well, you might be wondering where exactly on, well, the premises, or what exactly does the premises look like, or do you have any idea yet what the facility property looks like? Well, yes, I was able to find it on Google Maps, and it's not extensively large in terms of acres, at least from what I can tell. Maybe maybe the owners have some off-body portions of maybe cropland or pastures for the animals, maybe just not directly attached to their main property. I'm not sure about that, but well, it's the main facilities where they're situated. It's not extensively large, and in terms of housing, where I'd be staying, apparently, according to the owners, they have what they're referring to as just, I guess, a small apartment, maybe 2 kilometers up the road from where farming property is. I'm wondering if that just, they mean small apartment flat unit, maybe similar in size, somewhat, I guess, to something like, well, the shelter I'm staying at, maybe. You will have seen briefly in the clip at the beginning of the video here, and in, well, part 3 of this series. So, I don't know. I'll have to see when I get there. Obviously, once one of the owners comes and picks me up, I'll obviously inquire more about it and about general ongoings of the farm itself. Now, in terms of internet access, I don't know what that looks like yet, obviously. And in terms of video content, well, I have video ideas of, well, mainly just commentary videos that I've been meaning to tackle, either in, well, do the commentary as part of the exploration videos of the Viz if I was to stay here, but now that, well, is looking like at this point not happening for the winter, well, just make them separate videos. But I don't know at what times throughout the months of winter I'll be doing those. I'm gonna, if all goes well and I stay there all winter, when I'm not working, I think this will be a good chance for me to have a bit of a bit of a more easygoing recuperation time, I'll call it. And also, I think I'll be able to better focus on probably finishing typing out my theories, and maybe even starting to write my books. I'm also, in that regard, I'm going to take time to go back and rewatch a good portion of my video content, starting maybe at first from when I left Ottawa, just to, well, actually take time to sit down and see, maybe give myself a better view of my self-growth through the camera lens on here. And as for Cardi B, my faithful and trusty, dusty wagon, I've been trying to figure out what to do with them. Probably the decision's going to be finalized tonight. Either I'm going to leave them here in the city, maybe either, if they allow me to, with the shelter organization on the property over the winter, and I just take what I need from them, bring it to the farm, and they store it for me. Or if I have to leave it here somewhere close by to the shelter in the woods, as I've done before when I've been camped in this specific area for a portion of time. If it was if I stopped in any municipality and decided to pitch my gear in a more wooded area, so there's that. Or, depending on what the owner is comfortable with and what their vehicle that they're coming to pick me up with, depending on what it can take and hold, well, they'll be coming with us to the farm. So, that's, well, what happens with Cardi, well, still remains to be seen. But I'm not worried about their ability to stay stable if they were to be left here. They're a fighter. They've endured just as much as I've endured. I'm sure they will withhold extensive rusting from any amount of high watery snow and ice. Again, if they were to remain here.
Okay, let me get up the ways along this stretch of road and then continue yippee out.
Morning. Yeah, so guess just let me get up the road a bit turned into, yeah, I'm exhausted. Going to sleep. But, well, finalized decision has been made, and it's very positive news. So, one of the owners of the dairy farm can take Cardi B, well, with us. They're willing to, which I'm very happy about. And, well, it is absolutely official that, well, that I am going there with them. And there might be an amount of payment involved, but again, that part I still need to further inquire about. And just a correction, actually, from in terms of in relation to the direction that the village that the farm is close by to, on the outskirts of, that the direction it's in from Lévis. I was mistaken. It's not south of the city. It's east. It's about an hour to an hour and a half east of the city. But again, it's close to the Canadian-American international border. And so, yeah, I'm very happy about that. Now, as I've said, I am not just going to... It doesn't matter how secure in terms of immediate necessities like housing or payment it is. It doesn't matter. I hope, as I said in the email to the owners, that I will work in cooperation and respect with them as long as they work in cooperation and respect with me. And, well, as any of you who have been following me up until this point for a long while know, I have walked away, quit jobs before that were other than the systematic forces that they operate in, extensively abusive and destructive, and were at the least on a major level immediately non-cooperative. I have. And it doesn't matter the weather conditions. And it doesn't matter that I will be out in a rural area for hopefully a long while, all going well, or just whatever happens being out in a rural, more secluded area, again, like I was in Crow's Landing, Ontario. It doesn't matter. If I have to, I will quit and walk away again. I won't abide. I'm not predicting that'll happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But let's just say everything goes well enough accordingly. Overall, I will be there working in all willingness and in all desire to, working with the family that owns and operates the dairy farm. And so, if all goes smoothly, be there, be employed there, and housed there for 6 months, the entirety of winter. So, you might be wondering, so Cam, once you get out to the village of Saint Paul de Montmagny, once you're done with your time at the farm, what are your plans afterwards? Well, to come back here to Lévis. Come back to the city and finish off any further explorations I want to do here, observations. And then be on my way through into Quebec City. And then further north. So yeah. I guess another thing just to touch on to wrap up this video, in relation to where I was last night. I took further extensive looks at satellite maps, at not just the area I was in terms of Saint Rédempteur, but for Charny, for other areas of the city of Lévis. And I'm going to do so as well, relook at other places I've been, similar to that. And in regards to the city, you can very much tell just from looking at the area that I was in of Saint Rédempteur district and the area of the Charny district that I walked through. Not just in terms of the layout of housing, but the road structuring. How topsy-turvy it is in that neighborhood, the ultra-rich neighborhood, compared to that of the impoverished area of Charny. More straight in regards to the roadwork in Charny. More straightened or slight curves, it seems, for slightly diverting routes. Not constant diversions and diversions and diversions with no connection to, or not very many connections within the subdivisions to streets right next door, like one over in terms of housing units. And I'm sure, well, looking back, yeah, as I said, it's been the same in other ultra-rich areas that I've been to here in Canada. But in terms of looking at it, noticing it visibly on maps, I'm sure it'll stand out to me much more now. So, I'm off to a farm for the winter. And all going accordingly, seems like, well, just in time too.